Would I be the a-hole cutting off family by ghosting them? Me 31F, mother Vicky 64F, father Warren 64M, brothers Jerry 29M and Aaron 37M, husband 37M, baby less than 1F. 4 backstory. My mother was extremely abusive during childhood. Vicky would kick me, hit me, scream at me that I was a disgusting human being, she regretted having me, and no one would ever love me because I was so fat and awful. This was a daily occurrence. Her abuse was focused primarily on me. My father would try to intervene, but he traveled all the time for work, so it wasn't often. My brothers Jerry and Aaron were sympathetic, but wouldn't intervene for fear of them being hurt. I cut my family off in college. Vicky decided to go to therapy and turned over a new leaf. I didn't believe it, but I found myself in an abusive relationship I needed to escape from, and I had nowhere to go but my parents. To my surprise, Vicky acted differently. No more screaming or physical violence. And up until a year and a half ago that lost. Then I found out I was pregnant. It was like a switch flipped. Vicky immediately went back to her controlling ways. Luckily, we lived hours away, but she was constantly calling me and texting me to yell at me, usually multiple times a day. She hated everything, what we chose for baby names, how we were decorating the nursery, anything you can think of. She had a gender reveal party that my husband and I were not invited to because we said we didn't want one. When in person, she would jab me in the side with her nail to get the baby to move, turn off the AOC to make the baby more active. There was much more, but you get the picture. I would vent to Warren and my brothers, but they told me this was her first grandchild and shrugged it off. They said I needed to just give her what she wanted because if I didn't, she would yell at them and hit my dad. She insisted on being in the delivery room, and when I said no because hospital policy only allowed one person, she told, not asked, told, my husband he would be FaceTiming her while I was pushing so she could see the baby come out of me. I needed a C-section due to breech baby, and we decided not to tell her. Everything went wrong, and I ended up in critical condition and my baby in the NICU. My husband said I should tell them the baby was here. I texted them and explained we both had medical emergencies. I was immediately FaceTimed in the hospital to get yelled at for not telling Vicky and ruining the birth of her grandchild. Hours after a massive hemorrhage and minutes after seeing my baby in the NICU hooked up to machines. To this day, she hasn't apologized for her behavior because she claims I hurt her for cutting her out and she was justified. She's taken it a step further and shown up repeatedly with barely any notice. She lives hours away, yelled at my husband, and insulted his family, including making fun of his dead mother on multiple occasions. My brothers have insisted I be the one to apologize and reiterate what she says, that my baby name is stupid, that I deserve my traumatic birth experience, etc. Warren says to just give her what she wants and do what she says, because she's taking it out on them. So I'm done. I have my own family to focus on now. But my question is, would ghosting my parents and brothers make me an AH? Should I confront them instead? My husband says to ghost, but I'm not sure. Thank you for reading this. Please don't tell me I'm stupid and pathetic. I already know. Sad face, Vicky, Aaron, and Jerry have told me a million times. Edit to add, I have gone low contact with them at this point. I rarely, if ever, accept their phone calls, and unless it's something that seems to justify a response, Aaron telling me he's having shoulder surgery in October, I rarely respond to texts. They have increased their communication with me, which is another reason I feel conflicted about just ghosting them. Mom still complains we named my daughter after my mother-in-law 1.5 years later. My mother-in-law is deceased. My husband, the youngest of 5, was very close with his mother. Unfortunately, he's the only one whose children never got to meet her, as she passed away suddenly in his 20s, before having kids. When I was pregnant with my daughter 2 years ago, he said he was excited, but sad that she'd never get to meet his mom. I suggested we name our daughter after my mother-in-law in some way. I liked my mother-in-law's middle name, and suggested we incorporate it. We decided to use it as our daughter's middle name. Our friends, my husband's family, and my extended family all thought it was a sweet gesture. But my mother was furious. Every conversation, she would rant about how unfair it was, how I slighted her, how I was favoring my mother-in-law over her, even though I never met my mother-in-law. I hadn't learned to set healthy boundaries at that point, so I tried to offer a compromise. We were still in search of a first name, so we told her to send suggestions. She sent us a list, and the names were not good, like Priscilla and Blossom, and a bunch of names that flowed horribly with my husband's surname. When I told her we wouldn't be using any of the suggestions, she lost it, saying we were disrespectful. My husband was making the baby all about him. We were ruining the experience of her first grandchild. She also said my husband had his pick twice because we were giving the baby my mother-in-law's middle name and my husband's last name. I was still in my doormat phase, so I sent her the list of first names we liked and encouraged her to pick one. She refused, saying none of them were as good as her picks, and none were good enough for her granddaughter. In the end, my husband and I chose a first name from our list along with my mother-in-law's middle name. After that, every single conversation with my mother circled back to my daughter's name. She said she was willing to compromise with us, and sent us names similar to the one we chose, but prettier. Every time I shut her down, she'd pitch a fit that I was naming my daughter after one grandmother and not the other. I was hormonal and pregnant, and I told her it was ridiculous for her to be so jealous of a dead woman and that if she kept it up, she wouldn't be seeing my daughter. To this day, she still makes snide comments about it behind my back, according to my dad. We're LC with my family now, and I've learned to set firm boundaries, which has brought a lot of peace. It thought of this story because we brought my daughter to my mother-in-law's grave recently. It still annoys me, but there's enough space where I can at least laugh about it now. Hopefully, you can laugh about it too. Mom threw the gender reveal I didn't want, without me. It seemed like many were amused by my crazy mother's antics shared in Mom still complains we named my daughter after mother-in-law 1.5 years later. My mother-in-law is deceased, so here's another funny, ridiculous story from my pregnancy. Disclaimer that this took place almost 2 years ago. My mother is narcissistic and abusive. She pretended to change when we were adults. All that went out the window when during my pregnancy. Everything had to be her way, or she'd scream I was making everything about me, ignoring that she was making everything about her. One thing she demanded early on was a gender reveal. I still don't know why. She and my father didn't have them for my brothers or me. My brothers also wanted a gender reveal. When I asked why, I was told, because they wanted to. I said no. I think they are a bit creepy, to be honest. This is not a judgment on people who do have them. I just didn't want one for us. My husband agreed. I offered a compromise to my mom to add pink filters to the ultrasound photos. That wasn't good enough. My mother planned a gender reveal anyway for a weekend I was visiting. I'm about 7 hours from them, and didn't tell me. She planned a virtual party with pink gender reveal decorations. My dad let me know, and I was upset. I talked to my mother, and she told me she was compromising by doing a virtual gender reveal because I didn't want a party. I told her I appreciated the thought. I was in therapy for family dormatism at the time, but it wasn't something to compromise on because it wasn't wanted. I couldn't even cancel it myself because she didn't tell me who she'd invited. She and my brothers hounded my husband and me, trying to get us to change our minds. Even my dad reached out to ask me to just go along with it to keep the peace. After weeks of this, my mother came to us and meekly said she understood we didn't want it, but that she'd bought some pink poppers on sale. She said it would mean a lot if we could please pop them and take some pictures with just my husband, dad, and brothers when we visited. It was a completely different way than she'd been talking to me. I agreed, since I was taken aback, and a few photos for posterity couldn't hurt, right? Plus she asked so nicely. Well, a week before we were to visit, I was flooded with calls and texts congratulating me on my baby girl. My husband and I had only told immediate family at that point, as I had suffered a late miscarriage previously. My mom had changed the date and had the gender reveal a week early. My husband and I weren't even in the state. She filmed it and sent it to everyone in my family but my husband and me. She also didn't include any of my husband's family, though she had their contact info. I tried to call her, straight to voicemail. For hours after sending it to everyone else, she sent the video to me. It features my brothers breaking a piñata. When it explodes in pink powder, my mother says that's right. We're having a girl. Then they pop pink poppers. Honestly, I think it's pretty cringy. Finally, she answered me. I asked WTF she had the gender reveal and sent the video without my involvement. She dismissed me and said, I don't know why you're so upset. You didn't want the gender reveal anyway. Like, yes, that is exactly why I was upset. She stole my pregnancy announcement and specifically did the gender reveal I didn't want and hid it from me. I was so upset I canceled on visiting the following weekend and spent time with my husband's family instead. That's when we agreed to use my Mills middle name for my daughter, which is covered in the post I mentioned at the beginning. Hopefully you get some enjoyment from this story. I was so upset at the time, but looking back, the absurdity makes me laugh.